John chapter 10 verse 30 reads, "I and the Father are one." Very well known verse even if you are not a Christian, but there are questions as to what this actually means. Some will say that this just means that Jesus and the Father are one accord, meaning they're on the same page with the mission at hand. Or some will say that this means Jesus is the Father himself. But let's let the Bible interpret these verses for us. The word one in Greek is the word hen. When we take that word into Hebrew, we find that it is the word echad. Searching in the Hebrew Bible for echad, we run into a very well-known verse, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. This verse is the beginning of a well-known prayer in Judaism called the Shema prayer. And from before Jesus was born to this day, this prayer is read at least 3 times a day by Orthodox Jews. So this prayer is pretty important. And it reads, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." Now this verse is clearly identifying that God is one and using the same word as echad. But how does this fit with Jesus and the Father? Well, let's look at another verse where echad appears in the Hebrew Bible, Genesis 2:24. And it reads, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." This verse again is using the word echad, but we have a little more depth on what echad means. We see here that being one is described of male and female coming together in marriage and becoming one. This does not make the male the female or the female the male, but they are one in flesh while also being distinct persons. But one in what? Let's take a look at Genesis 5 verse 2. Male and female he created them, and he blessed them and named them Adam when they were created. Adam in Hebrew is the word humanity. But does this now mean that Eve lost her name and now she is Adam? Of course not. In this context, we see that male and female have the same name Adam because that is their nature and authority. So Adam and Eve are one because they share the same nature and authority, but are still Adam and Eve in identity. Let's look a little further into when humans were created. In Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 it reads, "Then God said, let us make Adam, or man, in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So here we see God is speaking to someone when he says, "let us." And apparently humans are made in their image. Interesting. We also see that humanity is now given authority, which goes with their name. But let's keep reading. Genesis chapter 1 verse 27 reads, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them." So we see here that God was the one creating and humanity was made in his image. Humans will be male and female, and when they come together they will be one flesh because they share the same nature and authority. And this is apparently the image of God. So God is one and plural at the same time, since humans are one in nature and plural in identity. Interesting. But we need more verses to solidify that God is plural and one like humanity. In Exodus chapter 23 verses 20 through 21, we see that the angel of the Lord is told to have the ability to choose to forgive sins or not, and is also said to have Yahweh's name in him. Exodus chapter 3 verses 2 to 4, we see it is the angel of the Lord in the burning bush, but it is also God. Joshua chapter 5 verses 13 to 15, we see the angel of the Lord bowed down by Joshua and worshipped, and he does not reject the worship, and then proceeds to tell Joshua to remove his sandals, for he is on holy ground. Joshua chapter 6 verses 1 and 2 continue the story, and the angel is identified as Yahweh. Judges chapter 13 verses 17 through 18, the angel of the Lord appears to Manoah and his wife, and they ask the angel's name. The angel responds, "Why do you ask my name, being that it is wonderful?" The word wonderful in Hebrew is the word pili, which means incomprehensible. If this angel has the name of Yahweh in him, would it make sense that it is incomprehensible? Of course. But as we keep reading in Judges 13 and verses 21 through 22, we see that Manoah then recognizes that who he has been speaking to is the angel of the Lord. And then he says this, "Surely we shall die, for we have seen God." Why does Manoah identify the angel of the Lord as God? What gave him this impression? Interesting. So does this mean there are two separate gods? Absolutely not. God's nature has to be divinely simple, which means he is outside of time, space, and matter. Meaning, God did not begin to exist, he is immaterial and not made of anything, and cannot be separated or divided. What we see here is the Trinity, one God with a plurality of persons, and these persons are eternal, immaterial, but distinct from each other but not divided or separated, because they share the same nature that is outside of time, space, and matter. Is this now making more sense? This would also explain why in Matthew 28:19, Jesus says, baptize them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, because they share the same nature. That being said, when Jesus says he is one with the Father, what do you think it means now? I'll let you think about that. Let me know in the comments.